ואם לבנו יעודנו. A father who is desperate for financial help is allowed to sell his young daughter to work as a shifcha ivriyo. She becomes a maid. But as soon as she turns 12 years old, she becomes bas mitzvah and she is no longer a maid. The father may not sell her. But this is not a sale like a Evet Knani. This sale has to be for marriage. She becomes half wife, which means as soon as the master decides to marry her, automatically she becomes his wife. But not only that, he can marry her to his own son. When a father gets paid for his daughter, he's actually being mekabel kesef kiddushin with a tenai. Is she married to him even though the small girl did not agree, or she has to agree? Can she be forced to get married or not? This is a machloikis between Rabbeinu Tam and the Rambam. Tosfos hold that you can force her to get married. The Rambam argues she has to be maskemis. She has to approve to get married. And it's a mitzvah for the master to marry her, or his son to marry her. How about the master doesn't want to get married to her, his son doesn't want to get married to her, they are too old, it's not a matching shidduch, but the grandson, his son's son, are the same age. The Hartzvi has a tshuva about it, and he brings a Gemara Masechta Kedushin, Daf Chov Amud Aleph. The Gemara speaks over there, if the girl's brother wants to take her for an amo, for a maid, can he pay his father so his sister becomes his own maid? And the Gemara says he may not. The reason for that is because it's impossible for a brother to marry his sister. There's no yiyud. If there's no yiyud, you cannot take her for a shifcha, for a maid. How about to marry her to his son? Reuven has a sister Leah, and he wants to take her for a shifcha and be meyayed her for Reuven's son. Is that possible? The Gemara says also it's not possible. Reuven's son is a nephew to the maid. A person may not take an aunt for a wife. So a brother is out of the picture. Rav Tzvi Pesach Frank as a shaila. We have a klal, b'nei bonim arehem kebonim. Grandchildren are like children. And we know a grandchild is allowed to get married, minatoiro, to his grandmother. The only reason we don't marry a grandparent is from the takana of Shlomo Melech, Shniyois Asuros Miderabonon. Over minatoiro, there's no problem. If theoretically speaking, this maid could get married to her grandnephew, her brother's grandson, why shouldn't she become a maid to her brother? He doesn't have to marry her. His son doesn't have to marry her. But the grandson, which is only a great nephew, could, technically speaking, marry her minatoro. So the Hatzvi wants to bring a rai from this Gemara that we don't say b'nei bonim arehem kebonim. When it comes to yiyud, she has to be able to get married to him or to his son, not to his grandson. And he brings down that the Yerushalmi says mefurash that you don't say b'nei bonim arehem kebonim when it comes to yiyud. We find by David HaMelech and Shlomo Melech, they sat next to Ruth by the Kisei HaMelucha. Ruth was the fourth generation, actually the fifth generation to Shlomo Melech. Shlomo ben David ben Yishai ben Oved ben Boaz, and Boaz was married to Ruth. She saw her fifth generation. Boaz lived 400 years, Ruth lived 400 years, and Yishai lived 400 years.